Welcome to the Dom and Slevs show. I'm Dom Hennequin.
And I'm Slevs.
Coming up today, we're talking about lots of different things, including The Lion King becoming the highest grossing musical in the world of all time. Pretty impressive. We've also got a review of The Collective's Parade. Slevs has got a review of Written on the Body, which I've never heard of before, but I'm looking forward to hearing a lot more about, as well as Fat Boy Slimmer by our good friend Steven Valeri. Plus, we're going to do a smackdown of Cheek to Cheek by Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett versus Barbra Streisand's new album, Partners.
I'm itching for this.
Yeah. We'll see who comes out on top. And finally, in Shut It Down, a pretty hot topic, Riffing. What do we think of it? Has it had its day? That's all coming up on the Dom and Slevs show. But first, let's get into the news. Well, first today...
Oh my god.
I got an iPhone 6. I can't, yeah.
Compare the pair.
Compare the pair.
Yep.
No, it's interesting because all the reviews have actually said this design is a little bit of a throwback to sort of the old school original iPhone design.
A little bit thinner.
Yeah, but like, yeah, it really is kind of, if you've got a, I don't know, it's very different. Like, it's very nice in the hand. I was, if you've seen some of my tech videos as well, go check them out on my YouTube channel, Dom Hennequin. I've been tossing up whether to get one or not, firstly, but also whether to get the Plus, which is like...
That's much bigger, isn't it?
This big.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it is a fair bit bigger. It's 5.5 inches. This is 4.7 inches.
Like you're holding an iPad when you're calling.
You went, hello. But like, I think I only decided like this would be better for me like yesterday. Like I actually was sitting down and I was like, okay, it's kind of like I need a nice phone, a good phone. I'd rather it be a good phone than sort of like in between a tablet and a phone. So I'm pretty happy with this. It's really pretty. It's really nice. I haven't put a cover on it. We'll see if I regret that. But I'm so excited. But I'm kind of not as well because the software is exactly the same. So it's kind of like just having a different...
It's just the new kind of...
Yeah, but I just like the detail. Like even, you know, with the reception little circles at the top, match the speaker circles at the bottom. Just the design is just so... Really appreciate it. So good work, Apple. You got me. You got me. I got one. Now let's move on to some theatre news. The Lion King, which is probably one of my favourite shows that I'd seen, especially as a kid. It was one of the first big, you know, professional musicals I ever saw. Has become the highest grossing musical in history across the world.
Wow.
So it's knocked out off of that list Andrew Lloyd Webber's Phantom of the Opera, which is 20-something years old now, 26 or 27 years old. Which previously held that title. So while Phantom of the Opera had...
Phantom of the Opera had more like bums on seats, but Lion King actually had more gross like revenue from the show, from ticket sales.
And that's what I hear on Broadway particularly, is that it's a very long wait to... you can't really get tickets to The Lion King if you just sort of rock up on the day. The Wicked and The Lion King are just, and Book of Mormon, like very, very hard to get tickets for, or you pay like a fortune for them. But Phantom of the Opera, relatively easy to get tickets for if you want to go see it on Broadway. So that's kind of interesting news.
How interesting that you can, you know, it's really hard to see Africans with their puppets.
Where are you going with this?
With their puppets and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's really easy to see like a buxom soprano belting out some, you know, stupid notes. Like,
Slevs, what did you just say? What's your point?
I just think that's interesting.
Is it interesting? Are you saying it's interesting because it should be the other way around in your head? What's going on? I don't understand. Let's unpack this.
No, I just think that, as you say, like, Phantom's been running for so long.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like, Lion King's been on for a fair while as well.
Yeah.
Now, like, I mean, sure, it might not be 20
1997.
years,
Yeah. It came around.
so it might not be 20 years just yet, but I feel like there's such different shows that appeal. Like Lion King certainly sort of, much more for a family kind of audience.
Yeah, I'm surprised that not surprised that it's done so well in one sense, but that it was the world kind of #1 highest grossing thing. Like, unless the ticket prices were a lot higher, maybe 80s and 90s, because it was the hottest ticket in town for a while. But it's not really a family show. There's murder and stuff in it. It's quite dark.
Yeah. It's certainly not a show for everyone.
So you can't really come on kids, let's go see. But whereas with the Lion King, it's relatively enjoyable for the whole family. So I think, I don't know, it makes sense to me. $6.2 billion it's earned.
It's a lot of moolah.
It's a lot of moolah. Yeah, it's been running since 1997 on Broadway, and in the West End it's still going, and it's coming back to Melbourne at the moment. So it's been touring New Zealand and Melbourne, touring the world. So there's lots of productions of it happening. And I think it's really cool because, as you do mention, it does give some minorities a bit of a time to shine on stage as well. Especially, in Australia and New Zealand, a lot of Torres Strait Islanders and Aboriginal people and, all those kind of minorities do get a chance to grace the boards. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, that's our top story today. Parade. I went and saw the Collective's Parade at 45 Downstairs over the weekend, and I was really impressed. I don't really know what I expected because I've never seen Parade before. There was a production in our area here with a couple of our friends in it that I missed because I'm an idiot and I didn't realise it was a Twilight show, and I tried to book tickets or something like that, and it was like, cool, it's 7:30, let's go. It's 5 o'clock the show started, so
Show's over.
Yeah. But Parade's always scared me a little bit because it just has this reputation for being so heavy, for being really emotional, and I was prepared. I was just like, all right, cool, so I'm gonna cry after every single number, and that's okay. I'm ready for it. I'm mentally prepared. Yeah. And it's gonna be really heart-wrenching and blah blah blah. Walked into 45 Downstairs, and the audience are sitting, the chairs are laid out either side, and the performers perform on a strip in the middle. And one of my friends was just like, make sure you sit in the front because you'll get the best experience there. I was like, okay. I did. And I certainly did get the best experience. It was, I can't really imagine how that show can be performed any other way, to be honest, because it was like watching a film. You were so close to the action. And I think that's what made it a bit more watchable for me. I didn't cry after every number, and I was okay with that because it didn't have to be this big, huge acting because you're on a stage and the audience is all the way out there. It was very intimate, and everything, and you didn't need a big set as well, so there wasn't as much that can go wrong with a small budget, whereas if you've got to fill up a humongous stage but you have no money to do it, it's very noticeable. And yeah, all these performers were pretty much professional, I believe. So I think they're getting a cut of whatever the ticket sales are. Yeah, it's a profit share kind of thing. So it's pretty much professional, and you could tell because they were all really, really, really strong. You could barely really point out a weak link.
Any standouts?
The guy who played Leo was wonderful, really, really good. And there was another guy, I'm sorry, I don't know any of their names, to be honest. That's why it was kind of a good experience for me. So I was like, I don't know anyone in this show. I don't know, and I don't have to because it's, I'm just watching a thing and then leaving. It was beautiful. But there was a guy that I have to mention. I am not very good with the characters, but he played the news kind of paper salesman or whatever, or the journalist.
Oh, yes, reporter. I know who you mean,
He played that character. He also played the governor, and he also played Leo's lawyer. So he played 3 different characters, but when he switched from the reporter to the governor, I think it was, or to the lawyer, I don't know, it was literally scenes back to back. He literally walked that way, up the stage that way, and came back as a different character. I thought he was a different person. I double took. I was like, is that the same guy as before? It took me ages. So, and he was very distinctive looking, so my head was sort of going, of course it's the same guy, but I for a second there, I was just like, is that the same guy? That was the standard of the acting. And the acting, it was acting first. So it was acting, number one, and then nobody was a particularly, you know, like crazy, big, belty, strong singer, and that was great because you just got into the story really well. And everyone could sing, like, really well, but there was no moment where it was just like, this is the song. Like, this is the song where I just... The only way to hit this out of the park is, you know, to sing it to the rafters.
Yeah.
So that was
like that.
really good. So I'd be interested to... I don't know whether I want to see Parade again, to be honest, because I feel like that was really good for me. I feel like, yeah, if I saw it in a traditional theatre setting, it might be a bit too much, might be a bit too heavy. But I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, so props to them. And it's still running. It's running over this weekend. So what is it now? When this goes out, it'd be about the 26th of September. This weekend, I think, is its last weekend. So, yeah, go out and see it. It really is.
I think they're a fairly new company as well.
Yeah, I've never really heard of them before.
Yeah.
And it was directed by James Cutler, who I'd never met until the night, really. And props to him. He did a really good job. Your vision was... It seemed to be fully realised. So,
yeah, so it's running through till the 28th.
Till the 28th. Cool. Yeah, so you've only got this.
And weekend. I love that venue, 45 downstairs.
I don't think I'd seen anything down there. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, really good. What did you see, Slevs?
So I've seen a couple of things over the last week.
Let's get a wrap up.
So first of all, last Friday night, I went down to East Geelong. Took a bit of a drive down with a friend of mine, and we went to see Blink Dance Theatre's production of Written on the Bodies.
No, sorry. What theatre company is this?
They're called Blink Dance Theatre. So they're also a fairly new company. They only started, I think, last year. And this was only their second show, their second production.
Sure.
So I went down to see it because another friend of mine was actually in it, Lyndall Pope, who, it's a blast from the past. And she was in the show. And basically, it was a dance theatre piece. So no dialogue or singing or any kind of... It wasn't a musical or anything like that.
Got it.
Yeah, contemporary dance. So, stay with me.
I'm with you.
So this was a piece that was written by the performers themselves. So it was a self-devised kind of piece. But it was inspired by the life of this writer called Anais Nin, who was kind of one of the first women to write kind of things that were like a little bit erotic and that kind of stuff. Like she was the first kind of person to kind of do that and, like, you know, explore sort of, you know, issues of gender and all that kind of stuff. So it was done in this, done at Stenton Theatre, which is it's been built inside an old church, the actual theatre. So they've kind of gutted the church and built a theatre into it, and it's used by Geelong High, I think it is, for their plays and things. But it's a really interesting space. It was a really interesting work to do inside somewhere that used to be a church, because there were some parts of it that were, you know, a little bit a little bit risque.
God be with you.
But anyway,
have you ever said that to somebody? Next time, instead of saying thank you or something, somebody does something nice to you, just go, oh, thanks. God be with you. Walk out. They will be speechless.
Speechless.
So go on.
No, so it was really beautiful. It was really, really beautifully presented.
Okay.
It wasn't really a I guess the whole thing was very much choreographed, but it wasn't like, you know, dance routines or anything. Like something that you might expect from a contemporary dance. It was almost more kind of interpretive, and very much they were all kind of little stories in the piece. So there were some bits that were like kind of exploring, you know, women and the whole idea of being like, you know, in charge of the household sort of thing. And they did this whole, three of the girls did this whole kind of tea dance with like teacups, and it was just really interesting. And there were some pieces like Lyndall came on stage in one piece and just ate an entire donut, like stuffed it into her mouth in front of the audience, and then kind of had that moment of realizing what she was doing, and sort of ran off. Like, there were just all these little kind of vignettes that were really fascinating. And yeah, like not sort of what I was expecting, but I really enjoyed it. So music's used throughout the piece, all these really interesting Some of it's like kind of jazzy, some of it's more just kind of like sound effects.
Is it original stuff for the pit, or is it just like stuff that's just been found and chosen?
No, it's got a few composers, but I think they've just found pieces from around the place,
Cool.
rather than it being composed for this purpose. And one thing I actually didn't realise until after the show is that it's actually meant to be set in the 1940s.
Okay.
Which, when I learnt that, it made a lot of sense.
Okay.
So, so I think it's well worth seeing if you up for going down to Geelong to see it.
Yeah.
Not that far these days, we got there in like 40 minutes on the freeway. But it doesn't have an interval or anything, so it's just like an hour and 10-minute performance, and it's running until the 27th, so until tomorrow. Until Saturday.
Okay, yeah.
Till Saturday. So, I'd recommend going to see it. So,
cool.
Blink Dance Theatre.
And what else did you see?
The other one I saw was Fat Boy Slimmer, which is our good friend Steven Valeri's cabaret that he's been doing for a little while now. So he kind of devised it late last year, and he's been doing it at the Cabaret Festival and Butterfly Club. And
he's continued to work on it, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's been developed the whole way through. So this one that he's doing at the moment is part of Melbourne Fringe, which is on at the moment. And he's doing it at an amazing venue called the Noble Experiment, which is on Smith Street.
I've heard really good things.
It's great. It's just great. So I've been along there on Sunday night, and his show's running through until this weekend as well, I believe, or until this Friday.
Go and see it.
Yeah, go and see it. It's really great. I just really love it. I really love the piece. It's all based around kind of his own life experiences of how he was a quite obese kind of child and teenager, and he's gone through this whole kind of weight loss journey, as he calls it, over the years, and it just explores all these kind of things to do with exercise and food and the whole kind of culture about weight loss and all that kind of thing. It's just really done really well. It's hilarious. There's parts of it that are really moving and really, but not too kind of over the top or anything.
But it's such the way he presents it is nice and tongue in cheek. But it's such a gold mine especially for actors and just people. Everybody struggles with something like this at one point or another. So, I think emotionally it's on a really good level. You can relate to it. Yeah.
So get yourself along to that as well.
Yeah. All right. Finally, in our first segment of the show today, let's plug some shows.
I'm gonna
put my hoodie on here. So this weekend, I can't see any of those shows because the Addams Family with OCPAC Theatre Company, with Old Carey Performing Arts Company, if you will, is opening, and I'm excited. It's going really well. It's honestly been the smooth. People keep asking me, are you ready for show week? It's kind of like, yeah, I think so. I think there's been no moment, and I could be wrong. I could get to the theatre tonight and be like, hey, we've got no band. We've got, or somebody's dropped out. But until now, anyway, there's been no moment in the show or in the rehearsal period where you've been like, we are screwed. How are we even going to make it to production week? It's been, I think maybe because there's a lot of characters, there's a lot of lead characters, so there's not that crazy pressure on, one or two people, person or a couple of people that sort of are struggling with it or whatever. We've got, our Gomez is, a VCA grad, and he's just, he's very professional, so he's come in from the get-go, and he had the character so early on. So, in the first... When we did the read-through, it was kind of well, cool. I don't have any problems there. And his singing voice is just incredible. Morticia, played by Lucy Ross. Hey, babe, Snapchat me. She sends the best Snapchats in the world, but she's fantastic. Just all the leads. Our Wednesday's fantastic. Just pretty... Everyone. I can't really... So, it's been very easy. It's been very easy to be in this cast. It's also been quite a professional. And it's the first show, amateur show. It's amateur theatre. It's the first amateur theatre show I've done in a while that isn't, not that there's anything wrong with it, but that isn't we're not all living in each other's pockets too much. So it just seems quite professional for an amateur show. Which I enjoy because it just it's a bit less pressure to me, and it's less exhausting. So I keep forgetting I'm doing a show, but like, I feel like this week I'll know.
This week you'll know, yeah. And this is the first time that Adams is being done in Melbourne as well. So
Yeah. It's the amateur
didn't come
premiere.
here professionally.
Yeah, so it's going to be really good. So it's running from the 27th of September to the 4th of October. Get yourself a ticket. Go to ocpac.com.au. And Slevs,
Yes.
you're in Bonnie and Clyde.
I am. I'm in Bonnie and Clyde, which
How's
is...
it going? When's it open?
It opens on the 10th of October. It runs through till the 25th, so a few weeks away. And this is also a premiere for Victoria, so that's exciting. Not for Australia. Queensland apparently beating us by like a week. But really, really exciting. It's because, it's a brand new kind of show for us. And I'm really, really enjoying it. It's the first time I've worked with Fab Knobs, and Fab Knobs perform in a very interesting venue. It's a little factory down in Bayswater that they've kind of turned into a theatre space. So it's sort of
They
cabaret.
do amazing things with
They
that
do.
space. It really works
They
for
do.
the cabaret. Like they did a festival of cabarets earlier this year. That was a good setting for it. But just some of the other shows that they've done: Spring Awakening, the Drowsy Chaperone. What a great use of that space, because it's tiny. It's crazy how small it is.
It is very, very small.
The way that they use it is so cool.
It is very small, and that's what we're finding with this show. Where this is the largest cast Fab Knobs have ever had, and there's only like 16 of us.
Ever, really?
Yeah,
They've done like Grease and stuff.
it's
Wow.
bigger. So because the difference is that we've all got like kind of a role, I guess. There's not really, the show doesn't really have an ensemble as such. Everyone's kind of got their own little thing to do, and it's obviously a huge show for our two leads playing Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
But they are doing amazingly well. Juliet and Kate playing Bonnie and Clyde are doing great things. And I'm really looking forward to it. The music's great. It's like this mixture of lots of different kind of styles. We've got gospel and kind of rockabilly and country and western all kind of fused together. It's really great. It's Frank Wildhorn who's written.
Belty Jeremy Jordan notes in there.
Of course, yeah. So really, really looking forward to getting it started. And the process has been really fun. It's kind of been interesting because we haven't really had a lot of rehearsals with everyone because it's that kind of show.
Yeah.
But I have to agree with what you said, what you were saying as well about it. It's been really kind of smooth and really refreshing working on this show.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
come along and see it. So you can get tickets at fabknobstheatre.com.au. And there's like so many shows. Like we're doing like 10 shows, and there's like cheap Monday nights and everything. But come opening.
Do it.
Come opening gala.
Come see our shows, please.
Please.
Coming up on the show, Gaga versus Babs. We'll be right back. This is the Dom and Slev Show. Welcome back, it's the Dom and Slev Show, and it's time for our very first Smackdown. That's right, this week we're doing Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga's Cheek to Cheek versus Barbra Streisand's new album, Partners.
Stunning.
Now, I've got a lot to say about this. Barbra Streisand, she's been away for quite some time, as she does. She usually makes an album or makes a movie or something like that, and then we don't hear from her.
She loves a
for
good
years.
sabbatical.
Yeah, a sabbatical, and she's earned it. God, her Have you seen her house?
It's
Have you seen?
ridiculous.
There's an Oprah video like on YouTube somewhere where it's like a special about Barbra Streisand, and I love the way Kathy Griffin describes it: the two titans, Oprah, Streisand.
Streisand.
And and she does that thing where they reverse the entire set because she only likes to be seen from her left side. Think of that. Hold that in your head for a minute. The fact that Oprah moved her entire set around to see her good side. One of the first things that Jimmy Fallon said to her in her first appearance on late night TV for 50 years was, everybody says that you're a diva, but you're not. You're just not. I mean, you know, you were very nice to our staff, blah, blah, blah. You know, like, I don't really get it. And Babs is going, yeah, I don't get it either. You know, like diva is an opera term, which is what every diva in the world says. It's an opera term. I don't really get it. Then take in the image, the fact that she's sitting behind Jimmy Fallon's desk and he's sitting on the interview couch. Now, it was presented as a sort of, Fallon was just like bowing, you know, really gushing over her. I insist you sit at my desk and blah, blah, blah. On that Tonight Show, she was the musical guest and the guest. So it was really only Jimmy Fallon does his monologue, Barbra Streisand the rest of the show.
It's the Barbra Streisand
it's 45 minutes of
Babs. The Tonight Show with Babs.
Yeah, pretty much. And then take into account the fact that she is sitting in a way that her good side shows. They moved the entire... Do you know what I mean? So... And talking about her not being a diva.
Can we switch? Because I'm not on mine.
Because I'm not.
I like this side.
Oh, do you want it? Yeah. Okay.
Can we
yeah. Okay. Let's.
Thanks.
Do it.
Trying to get this to happen earlier, but.
Wow. You should speak up. That's what a true diva would do. Right. Should we continue?
Yes.
Are you ready to
I'm
continue?
alright now. Yeah.
Are you centered?
Yeah.
Yeah. You found your center. Cool.
Thank you.
All right. So here we go. We've got, and again, two titans, Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett versus Babs, the legend, the one.
The one, the only.
The EGOTer. She's won an Emmy, a Golden Globe, an Oscar and a Tony. Fantastic. Good on her. She has come out with a new duets album called Partners. What were your thoughts, Slevs?
Look, this album is... I feel like I'm in a time warp when I'm listening to it because...
She's released it, she's distributing it straight from the 1980s to today.
Yeah, and that's where it belongs because some of the people that she's picked for this album, like, I mean, look, sure, she's got some acceptable choices in Michael Bublé, John Mayer, even John Legend's on there. But then she's picked some people like Babyface, who is a 90s was like a 90s R&B like producer and singer songwriter, whatever.
I was listening to this song and I was like, I had no idea who it was, but I was just like, this is every black guy in the 90s. Like on every sound, like remember the Disney soundtracks when it's like they would release a single of whatever the biggest, like they still do it today, but like they'd release the biggest song in the film, in that animation, whatever it was, and do a poppy version of it with a couple of artists. So like, I was just like, is this the guy from like Beauty and the Beast soundtrack?
Like, how did you get
that
picked?
sings
Like,
with Celine Dion?
Like, can you find me like a generic black guy for me to duet with? Just anyone.
Has to be from the 90s,
Yeah,
though.
must be from pre-2000. Sure.
It was literally like that, though, because it's like, think of the, till there's all this time, whoa, whoa. That guy. That's the guy she got. I want a guy to do that. Okay, Babs, let's look through the Rolodex here of ex-90s stars. So, Babyface.
Yeah.
Haven't heard of him? Well, welcome to the new century.
Welcome to 2014.
She's bringing him into 2014. But not only is it that, there are a couple of songs on the Barbados-inspired People, one of her biggest hits. That whole, it's literally like...
Featuring Stevie Wonder.
It's literally like, this would have been a freshened up version of People in 1984 or something like that. That whole sort of, People is such a beautiful classical musical theatre song, so no matter what you do to it, like if you change the style of it, it's probably going to be a bit bad. But it's that really out of date sort of people who need people. Who's she singing with in this one?
Stevie Wonder.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's just like, what have you done? What era is this from? She's literally taken her old album and literally in that song that she sings with Bryan Adams, what's that one called?
I finally found someone.
I finally found someone. The one. But literally her vocals in that sound like she didn't even re-record it. They sound like she just took that old recording with Bryan Adams and just was just like, let's just put this in as well.
And you should have left it there.
I don't know why she's done this album, though. That's my biggest question. I don't really understand the agenda behind this.
Like the fans, the diehard fans will go out in droves and buy it.
Absolutely.
Because it's predictable.
Yeah.
But that's...
And they'll be happy with it as well.
Yeah.
This album has opened at #1 on the Billboard charts. It's like, yay, fantastic, whatever, because it's Babs. Like, you know, she hasn't released an album in a long time. But the problem is that, like, it's probably an album you already have. I think that's the biggest problem. And that's why with Gaga and Bennett's album, it's a breath of fresh air.
It is.
And I think the real winner out of this is Tony Bennett, because he's doing the same old stuff that he's always done, that crooning, that classic thing. But that has never really gone out of date. Like, we've got Bublé, we've got, you know, Sinatra still plays at Christmas time every year. You know, we've got all these people, and it is freshened up by Gaga. And it's also that selling point of Lady Gaga's doing a big band jazz album with Tony Bennett. Like, it's the odd couple of big band, but she's surprisingly good at it. Like, I was really, really surprised. What did you think of Gaga?
I have always been a Gaga fan.
Yeah.
So I think it was great just to see another side of her on this album. And I think, the partnership is so unexpected, but that's why it's so great.
Like, I was not a Gaga fan when she first came out, but it's only been in the last couple of years that I've sort of seen what she's done and sort of gone, you know, she's the smartest girl in the room. You know, we were talking about these 90s or, like, early 2000 pop princesses that came out and are now trying to come back or whatever. That was the manufactured era. And there still is an element of that. But Gaga is not that.
No.
She knows exactly what she's doing. Even when she's looked like she's just doing things for shock value or whatever, she is. She's playing the game, but she also has the talent to back it up. And I think this album, which is a very raw, you know, big band jazz, is just that there's not too much you can really, you know, there's no like,
no riffs to be had.
Applause. There's no like crazy auto-tune on anything. It's a very genuine kind of from the heart album, and I really like it.
And the tracks that they've picked are just perfect, I think.
Yeah, I think that when I knew that I was happy with it was Lush Life, which is probably one of my favourite songs of all time. I'm used to the Johnny Hartman, John Coltrane version from the 40s or 50s, which is the pinnacle for me. That's just so beautiful, and it's got such an atmosphere just listening to it. You can't really beat it. But then, and so when I was listening to Gaga, I was bracing. I was just like, let's wait. It's good so far. Let's wait. She's going to do something in it, and there'll be a growl or something. You know, none of that. Like, she did go a little bit big in one of the bits, and I was like, is that? But I actually like it. She's fearless. I really, really respect that. So I think between Babs and Cheek to Cheek. Cheek to Cheek's the winner.
Oh, definitely.
For me.
Definitely.
And can we just for a second... these dead artists that are popping up in duets with people that are still living is just wrong.
Get rid of it.
One of Babs's partners... She's got two partners, actually.
She's got two dead people on her album, and they're not her.
Elvis is back. He's back, baby. Singing Love Me Tender with Babs, and it's really awkward because it's literally this like lo-fi kind of Love Me Tender, and then Babs's bits are just, you can tell she's going, how can I be better than Elvis in this bit, you know? And she's sounding really clear and from today. It's really awkward, and the Frank Sinatra one is a bit weird as well. Like, it works, but it's just like. And apparently Michael Jackson is back doing a duet with somebody soon as well. He's released more dead
than he ever did alive.
Yeah. Like, it's just weird.
I just think leave these artists alone.
Just shut it down.
They've passed.
Let's just give them some space.
Leave them be. Yeah. And if you wanted to do a duet with them, well, you should have done it when they were alive. You're too late.
Yeah, what makes you think they would want to do a duet with you now?
Yeah. Now you're just like abusing them by putting your voice with theirs.
Exactly.
I didn't ask you to do that.
Exactly.
Have some respect.
And one final thing I must say before we leave this segment is that you must check out Barbra Streisand's Instagram. She's on Instagram now. I don't understand why though. This is
bad
the thing.
selfies.
Can you... Just no, it wouldn't be eyes open. She can't open her eyes anymore. Have you noticed? Watch her on Fallon. It's always like she doesn't understand or she doesn't know. There's no expression anymore.
By far the highlight of the Partners album is that cover because she looks disgusting.
What's she even doing on it?
It's just like...
Partners. Come and see it. She needs to get really like... I want to see an Instagram of her with Elvis. That'll be the cherry on top.
Yeah.
The king and the queen. Anyway, we'll leave it there. That was our our Smackdown.
Yes.
And we'll be right back with Shut It Down. This is the Dom and Slevs show. Welcome to Shut It Down. Now today we are touching on a topic that may be a little bit controversial because... what were you going to say?
No, nothing.
Couldn't give a shit.
Couldn't give a hoot.
Today I am taking a stand, Slevs, and I want you to stand with me.
I will.
It's not so much a shut it down, it's a let's give this a rest. Riffing. Riffing in musical theatre. If you don't know what a riff is, Slevs, would you do us the honour of just showing us a little bit of a riff? Let's do a good one. Let's do I'll start singing something and you riff over it. Okay?
All right.
Alright, let's do we'll do an appropriate one first.
All
okay?
right.
So why don't you sing Defying Gravity. Sing like the so if you can find me and do a bit of a riff or something.
Alright. So if you care to find me, look to the western sky.
That's a riff. Sky.
Yeah.
So you could sing a straight note and be like, look to the western sky or sky. Nah.
Rarely does that happen.
Yeah, rarely does that happen.
Straight
in
notes.
I just feel like let's do an inappropriate riff.
All right.
Because this is what I'm against, okay? So why don't I start singing? Okay. We'll do Sunday in the Park with George. And you riff over it.
Inappropriate.
Okay, so let's just see. This is an inappropriate riff, okay? So you've got the ensemble going, Sunday by the blue of the yellow water. By the blue of the yellow river.
Sunday.
That is an inappropriate riff. Riffing over Sondheim is just a no-no. And I have been seeing a little bit of this happening, and I feel like we need to address it before it gets out of control. If you're doing a period piece where the music is of its time and all of that, you need to can the riffing. You cannot Shoshana Bean your way into this role.
No.
A lot of people use riffing as a way to hide that they're sick or that they've got, a bit of a tired voice or whatever. I can understand that from a certain perspective. But when you're riffing over Sondheim, we've got a problem.
We've got an issue.
And I feel like since Rent and Wicked, especially Dreamgirls, let's be honest, like... a lot of these, more black shows, but then especially with Wicked and stuff like that, it has just gone out of control. It needs to be reined in, especially in amateur theatre. Because I feel like since YouTube has been invented and we've got countless bootlegs of every possible option of riffs you can do for Defying Gravity, every possible option of riffs you can do for On My Own in Les Mis, which is that's a great example of...
It is.
Here's a period piece. It's already interesting enough that it's already outside of the period, song-wise, because you've got pop music in the middle of the French Revolution. Like, but that's why it kind of worked. That's why, like, the reviews of it when it initially came out in the 80s were just kind of like, well, this is a bit of a, you know, this isn't quite good. This is kind of not the best thing in the world, but it's going to sell really well because, you know, it's poppy and you can get the song stuck in your head. And that's totally why it works with Les Mis. But the point that we've gotten to with On My Own, for example, that bloody Leah Michelle riff that they all do now. Yeah. What is it? I love him, but every day I'm learning. All my life I've only been breathing. What are you saying?
I can't
understand you. What are you singing about? But also, I have never heard that done live and actually be any good.
It sounded
And that's the problem, is that, like, do not subtract from what you're doing. Do not, like, subtract the quality of that by adding in a riff, an opportune riff. It's not on. But Defying Gravity has got to be
the worst offender.
There is no way you can sing that song and add anything fresh in anymore. It's been done. It's all been done. And I think I watched an interview with an Elphaba, one that I particularly like. And in her interview, it's from a few years ago now, so God knows the other riffs that have added into that show. But she kind of just said, yeah, there's nothing I can do with this role, like riff-wise and sort of singing-wise, that has not been done. So I literally did my homework and I looked at what I liked from each different Elphaba and I looked at what parts of their performance I like, but, you know, also the vocal stuff that they did and what would work for me. And that's what you've got to do. There's no point Shoshana being... I feel like, as much as she's not really doing that much now in theatre, she has changed, like, the landscape for riffs that are acceptable in theatre. She really... And it's interesting hearing about the Wicked story because I think she originally started as a standby for Idina Menzel, so did Eden Espinosa. And both of them talk about, especially Eden, because she was the first standby, about how in the early days of Wicked, I think there's that Seth Rudetsky video where she's like, I would practice along with the show and add my own stuff, like add my own riffs just to keep my voice, you know, there in case I had to, you know, run on in the middle of a show, which is fair enough. But then she talks about how just randomly she was, you know, put on for a show and some riff came out of her in like Defying Gravity or, you know, Wizard and I or something like that.
You can't really do that.
Yes! It was that Lucy Durack reaction of just coming off stage and just being like, you're not really allowed to do that. Apparently the stage manager or the musical director was kind of like, okay, like, you can't really do that. You've got to sort of sound like Idina as much as you can because you can't really look like you're trying to like, boom, like, I'm here, I'm out. And I understand that, but they freed her up after that.
They did.
They freed Shoshana up.
Her riffs in.
Yeah.
That she'd written.
As alternate versions. That I can understand, but now, 10 years later...
I've had enough.
It's just too much, but it's just the worst in amateur theatre, Slevs. There's just too much. Like, the amount of auditions that it's just like, let's see what version of this song we're going to get. It's just like, you can't sacrifice the quality of your song for a riff anymore. It's just not acceptable. So I want to see a pullback.
Give it a rest.
Give it a rest. Give it a year. Can we have a year without any unnecessary riffs? If they're necessary, like, totes, whatever. If you're doing Dreamgirls, go, babe. Like, go nuts. Absolutely. But if you're in the middle... What's a good one? If you're in the middle of Sweeney Todd... and you add in a riff... No. Shut it down.
Pick your moments.
Pick your moments. That was Shut It Down. Well, that'll do it for us here at the Dom and Slevs show for another week. It's been a heap of fun. Thank you for joining us. And in honour of the riffs that we are hoping to see a little less of from now, we're going to sing you the End of Defying Gravity with as many riffs as we can fit into it.
Oh, Lord.
It's a riff-off. Slevs, do you accept my challenge?
I accept.
Okay.
All
Are
right.
you ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
We'll see you next week.
So if you care to find me, look to the western sky.
As someone told me lately, believe everyone deserves that chance to fly. And if I'm flying solo, at least I'm flying free. To those who ground me, take a message back from me. Tell them I am defying gravity. I'm flying high, defying gravity. And soon I'll match them in renown. And nobody in all of us, no wizard that there is or was, is ever gonna bring me down. Bring me down. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. We'll see you next week. Don't talk to me.